So how willing are you to pay attention to the silence? Like, even when I'm talking to you, there's going to be stuff running through your mind. You might be thinking, yeah, is Kate saying anything interesting? Don't think it's going to fix anything. I need to go and get stuff done. I haven't got time to listen to the silence. What's Kate got on her head? I've been decorating. My hair's full of paint. But we seem unwilling to listen to the silence. We're always filling it. We're filling it with screens. We're filling it with our thoughts. It's all really mesmerizing. We're always trying to fix something. We're always trying to, as soon as we start thinking about something and then we immediately feel what we're thinking and then we think more to kind of try and get rid of the feeling. We're trying to think our way out the whole time. We're trying to sort things out in our head the whole time. And sometimes it's, when people talk about this state of being, we even think about that. We're like, what is that? And we conceptualize it and we try and, intellectualize it. And what is that? And when we try and think about that and we try and think our way to this space of being that people talk about. I remember talking to this girl and I said, do you ever experience that? Being in the moment, just being. She was looking at me. She said, well, not really. She said, what I'm doing is I'm kind of microdosing on mushrooms to kind of try to get that feeling, to feel that sense of being. And it's this element of trying to find something, of trying. And wherever there is trying, our mind is active and we're doing, and we're not being. And I remember talking to someone and she was really struggling with her experience. She was struggling with her narrative, her story around, and what she said to me, she said, I'm not sleeping, I'm trying, alcohol and antidepressants and sleeping pills, and I'm not getting any sleep, I'm not getting any respite. And the thing is, Kate, I wasn't loved properly. When I was a child, she said, I've been learning about it and I wasn't attached. Basically what she was saying was, because of my childhood experiences, I'm damaged, I'm a bit broken. And I was asking her questions and I was, what if that isn't true? But it was true for her, as in that's what she was bringing alive and that's what she was believing. And she kept trying to draw me into the narrative, and until she didn't, because she realized that I wasn't going to get into the narrative. That wasn't what I was here for. It's like she'd been doing that. She'd been, having a lot of intense sort of therapy where they had gone into the past and talked about the narrative and brought it alive and kind of tried to change the way she thought about it and all of this. And that's fine, but she still wasn't sleeping. And there was this silence, and there was this moment when she said, Kate, I went shopping the other day. I went to the supermarket and I looked around and I realized that everyone is the same. She said, we're all just doing our best, given the awareness that we have, given the way we're seeing life. We're all just doing our best. We're all okay. And I was like, okay, that doesn't sound like the narrative anymore. That sounds like you're having an insight. You're seeing something from, this quieter space. But she wasn't paying attention to that. She wasn't seeing that. She wasn't interested in that. She was way more interested in her narrative, in the narrative that was saying that she wasn't okay and she isn't okay, and looking back into her past and finding all the evidence as to why she was feeling the way she was and she wasn't okay. And so when she got glimpses that maybe that wasn't true, maybe it was what she was bringing alive, but maybe there is this space beyond that where she can see that perhaps we are all the same, you know, all doing the best we can given how we see the world, given our awareness and given where we are, and that can shift and change in any given moment. But she wasn't paying attention to that until she was, because that was a quieter space, and she had to get quiet to see it. And I realized, you know, that I also, you know, as someone who shares this and someone who tries to bring, you know, people into, or allows people to kind of fall into this space, I also have to be happy with the silence, because at the beginning of my journey, I used to always think that I had to kind of jump in with the answers. You know, God, if I don't have the answer, it looks like Kate doesn't know what she's talking about, or Kate doesn't have the answers. And actually, no, it's the answers come to us when we're quiet. If we had all the answers in our head, I mean, that's all our thinking, that's all the stuff that we already know. And often the answers come from the unknown. The answers come from what we haven't seen. The answers come, you know, from seeing something that we hadn't noticed, or we'd been too busy to pay attention to, or the stuff that kind of lands on us quietly and we brush it past, brush it away without even noticing it. And then when we get quiet, we might reflect on something and stuff kind of makes sense. And the reason why, you might be kind of wondering, why is it important? Why does it, you know, so what? You know, what's so great about listening to the silence? And it's like, well, because our experience of life changes. The more we see this, the more we have insights. The more we see beyond, what we're lost in. Beyond, you know, whether it's our identities, our depression, our stories, our behavior, our experience, we see beyond it. And then, I mean, that particular woman I was speaking to, she had so much story that it meant that, you know, her daughter was getting married, and she had told herself and her daughter that she wasn't going to be able to go to her wedding. And this was, you know, something that was pulling them apart. You know, I can't go to your wedding. What do you mean you can't come to my wedding, Mum? You know, and there was a lot of angst and a lot of anger and a lot of confusion. And then there's a tendency to kind of try and think and fix it all. And, you know, but actually, the more she paid attention to the silence, the more she connected with who she really is beyond her narrative, to this space of being, which is everything. The more it fell away. And I know it's counterintuitive, because I know we want to do more. I know we want to think more. And I know it's like, if you sit here and you go, well, that's not enough, then it won't make any difference to your experience. Whereas if you get curious and you start paying attention and you start listening, then everything changes. And this particular person, she went to her daughter's wedding. She loved it. You know, it's her experience changed because she was less attached to it. She was less attached to all the stuff that she was telling herself. And yeah, it's not about me saying, oh, it's not true. It's about you, yourself, questioning and going, does it make sense? And who am I beyond my experience? You know, who's the I having the experience? You know, the I am. Because when you sit in the I am, then everything's okay. And then you go and carry on. I am tired, I am angry, I am whatever, you go and create, and that's okay too. But there is this space you can always come back to. And it's in the silence. I'm going back to my painting. Bye.